Welcome to Fandom Night, the show with a $60 billion double-dollar reward on its head.
Damn.
Wow.
We're expensive.
That's true. I am William Bush.
I feel as though we're not getting paid enough for this. Oh, wait. We're not getting paid.
Reploid Bill at most every form of content you can find me on. And let's do the co-host thing.
Ryan McLemore, Shinigami.
Look at that guy. That guy's shown up for 3 episodes now.
Holy fuck.
Damn, son.
It's a Christmas miracle.
Dun dun dun. Or is it an omen?
I don't fucking know. Nick
Right.
Bennett,
I like
the
that
Paladin.
Seth Level, Sario.
All right. Let's get contact information out of the way. If you would like to contact me directly, you can find me as Bill Bush on Facebook or William Bush on Google+, reploidbill@gmail.com. If you would like to contact the show, you can contact it as, these are no spaces, Reploid Productions. We have a group page, or Reploid Productions at Google+, or reploidproductions@gmail.com. If you have found this file somewhere out in the interweb on Facebook or wherever you found it and you'd like to hear more of us, you can go over to the website. This is reploidproductions.com. There is a link to an RSS feed. There is also the YouTube and the eBlogger channel right there. If you'd like to check us out on your phones or iTunes or something like that, we're also available. But this is the only time that you will actually put a space in between. That will be Reploid space Productions, and then you should be able to find us like that. Now, with all of the business out of the way, we are making good on a promise of the past. We said that we would be doing the Final Fantasy Legacy, a review of every single game, and though we have altered the way that this is done, we are finally making good on this. We are now up to Final Fantasy V. For a small recap, which is not majorly important, but we may as well get it out of the way. So far, Final Fantasy I sits at 2.75. Final Fantasy II sits at 1.83. Final Fantasy III sits at 1.75. Final Fantasy IV for the DS sits at 2.37. And our monster to beat is Final Fantasy IV, the complete collection for the PSP at 4.57.
Man, are you out of breath yet?
I'm working on it.
Hey, I'm just glad I'm not the blowhard of the group right now.
Yeah, no shit.
I let Bill be the bag of hot air.
No shit.
I can just chill out, relax, maybe
Now
take a nap.
That's fine. We'll force
that's
feed.
what Shane's
Not
doing.
yeah. Now the business is done. We pick a version of Final Fantasy V.
The best one is the Game Boy Advance. It has a slightly updated graphics. Some translations have been fixed. Plus, they added in 2 new jobs, and they did add in the special dungeons.
So far, I will agree with you. I would say that the only other version that has a chance is the ISO version.
iOS.
iOS.
But none of us have played it, sadly.
Well, there's another problem I have with it. And this comes down to, me and you were speaking about this earlier. My issue with iOS is not that I don't consider it a system. Like, there are some people that are adamant that they're like, that's not a Game Boy, that's not a PSP, that's not a Wonder Swan color, get it out of my face.
You mean, that's not a console for all 3 of those things.
Yeah.
And I know what you meant. Don't
Now,
worry.
What I'm getting at, that I believe that it is kind of on the forefront, the pioneer of the digital gaming thing that's kind of coming in. But my issue is that these units do not have controllers unless you're playing.
Well, no, you can buy a controller.
You can also play it on the PlayStation phone, which would allow you a controller.
The what?
There is actually a PlayStation phone. It's exactly like my phone, but there's a bottom piece that flips out that has the PlayStation controller on it.
Huh.
Instead of a keypad.
That's actually kind of neat.
So it works exactly like a Galaxy S phone, like an Android phone, but it has a flip down.
Also like the PSP Go.
So if you were playing it on something like that,
that's kind of neat.
I could allow this. However, as for people like me or you, people with iPhones, my problem is that your hands are on the screen that you're trying to view, and to me that takes away a little bit of the experience, so I think I agree with you on the Game Boy Advance here.
Well, I would love to say the iOS version because I've seen some screenshots.
I have too.
It looks fucking amazing.
It looks a lot better,
and I want to play it, but there's 2 problems. Same thing with FF6. They did the same thing.
Yeah.
It's also on iOS and Android. Guess what? My phone sucks because I have a Galaxy S. I can't even run Final Fantasy IV. I bought it, had to have them refund it for me.
Now wait,
because I couldn't play it.
Really? On what version?
The DS version.
No, your Galaxy.
I have a Galaxy S1.
Original
Galaxy
the original.
S.
Okay, so you have an original Galaxy S, and it will not
Which
handle
is crazy.
Will not handle
Which is crazy because it can do an HD version of Avatar.
Yeah.
Because it came with it on there originally. Because I was working at Walmart in the electronics section.
Final Fantasy IV on the Android because it's the 3D or it's the DS version.
Okay.
And I can't get Final Fantasy III on it either. But I got Chrono Trigger.
Well, you were also
But I got a problem with that too.
You were playing the other Final Fantasy that came out
Final Fantasy
for it.
Dimensions does not take as much of. It was actually developed only for that. They had to port 4 over.
Now, not to jump onto that because that definitely deserves its own thing. But just a quick thing: is that good? I mean, should it even be
Dimensions?
Considered for people that haven't played it?
It's going to have to be one of the spin-off games that we're going to be going through after we get through all the numbers.
So you say we should make it a part of the legacy?
Well, you've played it. Seth's played it.
I'm still playing it.
Shane's played it.
I have not played it.
Oh yeah.
Honestly,
well,
I've seen you guys playing it.
Yeah.
I seen you guys playing it. I seen Shane playing it, but I did not play it. What was this thing called?
Final Fantasy Dimensions.
Okay.
Yeah.
That one's actually pretty neat. I did do a current review when it first came out, and I picked
yes,
it up.
I remember because I did the editing.
Fucking time ago.
I did the editing on it, and
that's how you got to see a lot of the game, though.
Well, no, there was a big problem with the editing on it. The way that we had to do it, I didn't yet have. Like
good shit that
we
we
ended
were
up
using?
getting a really good program later on, but what we were using at the time was like
Windows Movie
Maker. So what I had to do was I had to record the entire thing, like audio-wise, which was just you sitting here talking about it. Then I had to record the entire thing gameplay-wise. Then I had to go back and make the entire thing into a sound file that I could plug into Windows Movie Maker that I could slowly lace the actual images on, and it took an eternity. It was a very slow, tedious editing process that literally took like almost 3 hours, and it was such a simple like 7-minute video that I should on the newer programs.
Probably would have been 5 had I not stumbled over my words and my thought process a couple times.
On the newer program, I could have done that video. I could have edited that thing in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But it was a pain
Dimensions
in the ass.
does need to be on the list.
Okay. Well, I've added it.
But it really makes me sad that we still haven't actually had a Final Fantasy game on a console since 4, the remake of 4. We were supposed to have 5 remade already. We're supposed to have 6.
Didn't get it, and we didn't
supposed to
get
have
it.
7.
Now 7 is 7 is one of those things.
No, I lied. They did give us 1 finally. It was 10 and 10-2.
Yes.
Yeah. Which we'll get to that later.
I will agree that is it's a remastery, but technically it falls in line with what they promised.
Yes,
because they said they would at least remaster or remake every single Final Fantasy game to celebrate their 25th anniversary.
Which, guess what? We're still waiting on 5.
It was supposed to be a 10-year long haul where each year they would come out with 1 to 2 remasteries. And they would also be releasing games. Now, so what was promised to us was that we would see all the way up to Final Fantasy X redone. So that's each year we should have seen 1 Final Fantasy at a time until 10, and we got 1, 2, 3, 4 twice.
Yeah.
And then that was like it until 10.
Well, unless you're counting the mobile stuff, which honestly, I think that's a cop-out, and it's not fair.
I do feel like it's a bit of a cop-out, but I guess if you're going to hand them their cop-out, then yes, they did make good on the other rest of the promise, because we did get 5 and 6.
No, because we're still missing 7, 8, 9.
Right.
They skipped 4 games.
Yeah.
And one of them, all of us, at some point...
Has it been 10 years? I think it's only been 5 years.
For what?
For the 25th year anniversary celebration.
It might have been only 5. I don't know. I haven't been keeping track of it. But
So it's not like they're out of time, but
Yeah.
regardless.
But they still need to get off their ass and do it.
So it was 2007 that they started this.
They need to go out and take some.
You know how you
get
can
off their
tell?
acetone.
To start this, they remade Final Fantasy 1. I have it on my shelf right over there. What's the date
that
on
should
it?
be the 20th anniversary.
Yeah.
Quick,
So-
somebody run! Not me, I'm too fat.
Well,
Can't run.
you're also kind of blocked in, and I'm not getting my ass up because I'm like the lowest of the ground right now, so it'll take forever.
Yeah.
You know, my old creaking bones and shit.
Yeah.
2007.
All right, so
we're sitting at 2014. They have 3 years left
Yep.
to finish those games.
And that's
to
4
make good on
games.
their promise.
And I don't see it happening.
The only way I could see it happening is if you give them their cop-out, that leaves them with doing 7, 8, and 9.
Yeah.
They could do 9. 9 is one of the few games, unlike 8, I think that 9 is refined enough to where if they did it right, you could see an HD of that.
Yeah, bumping
I
up the
agree.
graphics, but the thing is, they've been promising one game and then taking it away, and then promising it again, and then taking it away.
And it's not
now
gonna
they actually
happen.
say it is an actual possibility. But then again, we've heard that same song and dance.
I was about to
last-
say, there was...
Oh, actually, wait. I am also not counting the re-release of 7 on Steam. That was not a remastery. That was not an HD boost.
I'll say
it was
that.
a re-release.
And
However,
they
you
claim-
also said the key word right there. Possibility.
the last
It's
thing
a
that,
possibility.
the last
They're
thing
gonna
I
hold it
seen,
off
the
until
last
they're almost
thing,
bankrupt
the
again.
last thing I seen was this was maybe like 2 months ago. They were talking to a guy, and basically he put a comment down that was like, "We would redo 7, but we just don't have the manpower right now. That would be a big project."
That's because they wouldn't want to mess it up. They'd want to make sure it's absolutely perfect.
I feel like you would need a team behind Final Fantasy VII, and this is going to sound like a fanboyism. There's no way I'm going to get away from that.
That's all good.
But they would have to put a team behind Final Fantasy VII about the size of what they did on Final Fantasy XIII to even begin to give justice to what that is. Because even stepping aside from the fanboy part, trying to put myself aside from it, if I
It
talk
was a
just...
monumental moment in Final Fantasy history because it was the first 3D-esque.
But all I have
game.
to do to step away from fanboyism is to just sport numbers. Numbers don't lie, and no Final Fantasy in history has had more money than 7. And I'm not talking about all the offshoots of 7.
No, just
7 has made more money than any Final Fantasy in the history of the company.
Apparently, Square Enix hates money all of a sudden.
That alone says...
We've all been demanding it for how many
No,
years?
Think about how much
here's
money
what
it would
their
cost to
problem
do
is.
it, though.
Yeah, and how much they would...
The other question
make
is
back.
this. At 2007, they promised this. That means that there's another game, one that I'm not too happy with, but we're not going to get into it. They would have to redo 12.
No. You said 1 through
years.
10.
10 years.
Right, but they
12 does
promised
not have to
they
be it.
promised redoing all their games. And at the time, 2007, I think 12 was out.
Yeah, it was.
And it was a staple game.
It wasn't the greatest, but it wasn't a bad
And
game.
technically speaking, if you want to give them the biggest cop-out ever, they have redone 11.
Yeah.
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 They have.
3 times?
No, 14.
Yeah.
Which they redid. Because the original 14 was god-awful.
But
and
to
they
give
fired the entire development team.
If you were to give them the biggest leeway slap ever, that's the remake of 11 right there. They made good on that.
11, I don't think was an actual numbered game in thought process. They just called it Final Fantasy 11.
Which I
because
never
they didn't
agreed
have.
with.
It should have just been Final Fantasy Online.
Yeah.
That would have made sense to me. There are a ton of Final Fantasy games that are offshoot games that didn't need a number. If you get a number, you should be a one-player, or at the very most, like if you do bring in somebody else, a second controller type of thing.
Like they did in 6.
But it should be a full, gripping storyline that you play through. They should, if Final Fantasy 11, I feel like that is just wrong.
I didn't really get into the story. And I played that game for a while.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I did make it a ways through. I didn't make it super far. Because I had a level 24/25 red mage. I say slash because I got the level 25, got 2 fights into level 25. I was like, fucking pimp, leveling up, good party. And a dumbass in our party got me killed.
So,
Nice.
And then I de-leveled back to 24, and it stayed in that constant bounce up and down. I gotta use my Blizzard spell 3 times. Or my Blizzara spell 3 times. I was
day.
like, woo! No, not a day. That was like a month.
I know.
Actually, it was a 6-month time span I did that, and I finally said, fuck this game.
Yeah.
So let's get down to it. The first thing we do is see it.
It looks better than the Super Nintendo version.
I think it looks like ass.
It still looks better than the Super Nintendo version.
The reason I'm going to say it looks like ass is because of this. We've been picking best version.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 1, 2, 3, 4,
They give us
6,
an actual
7,
good update.
8, 9, 10, 11, 10-2, 12, 13, 13-2, 13-3, and 14, which isn't even out.
Yeah,
well, yeah, the
well,
14 and 14 reboot all look better than this.
Yeah.
All look better than this.
Because basically it was a slight boost to graphics that they ported to the Game Boy Advance.
So because this
Yep.
has not had a remake that is basically recognized
that
by
we
us,
can actually talk about, yes.
this is the worst looking Final Fantasy in history.
Yeah. It really is, and it's depressing.
I slightly feel like that's bullshit, but that's from god-awful Mystic Quest.
No,
But
Mystic Quest
Mystic
is an
Quest is a
offshoot.
side game. I said numbers first.
True.
We're not even in the side games.
true. So yeah, that's why I'm like, I don't know, but
Now-
yeah.
So this,
I know better.
right
but
off
the
the
thing
bat.
is, because none of us had played the Android/iOS version, we have to go with the Game Boy Advance,
Yep.
and it is a terrible, terrible tragedy.
Now, does it,
Blah, blah, blah.
does it, does it
Tragedy,
look like, does it look
travesty.
the same as the one I started
I'm
playing?
sorry, I'm
Tragedy,
harnessing
pretty
the
much the
power of
same?
Jimmy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
There's
that's
a little,
really
there's
bad.
a little bit of smoothing in the colors around the edges here
Yeah.
and there, but pretty much what you saw on the PlayStation version is exactly what you carry
I
around
will,
in your
if I
hand.
remember correctly, there was one good thing I'll say about it, because the PlayStation version pisses me off, is when you have to go through that partially sunken ship, and you have to go through the underwater section.
Yeah,
You can't see anything.
I can.
I can't.
I didn't. In the PlayStation version, it's not like that. You can see.
Well, I was having issues then.
In the Super Nintendo version, depending, it was real weird. There were cartridges that were released on the Super Nintendo, which would have been the Famicom. But if you play it, there's screw-ups where some of them actually have, like, dark water.
Yeah.
Like, where you go in the water and you can't see shit. And depending on what ROM you ended up with, if that's how the first time you played this,
It was.
which a good portion of people, that's the way it was. Like with me, I was an emulation kid. As soon as I figured out 1995, got my computer, got my internet, and I said,
I could play-
emulators.
I could play my Super Nintendo on my computer?
I
Fuck
went
yeah!
crazy. I filled the hard drive with those bitches.
I remember we used to play all that shit.
Yeah, I was all about playing Nintendo on my computer and everything. And people like you can dog that, you can say cuz I'm a collector. But to be fair, that's what made me a collector.
Yeah.
If I wouldn't have had the access to play all that library for free, half the games that I know about today, especially retro-wise, I wouldn't have bothered with.
That's true.
Yeah.
I would see them at the store today, and I'd be like, I don't want to buy that, because what if it sucks? I wouldn't
Yep.
even take the chance, because I don't have the $30, $40, $50 to spend on a Nintendo game to figure out that it sucks.
Yeah,
So,
I feel you there, man.
emulation is one of those things that caused me to buy all this stuff.
Especially
Yeah.
because I've been running around all the pawn shops and then, dumping what money I can out of my meager checks.
Yeah.
I
Gotta love
get
my
ya.
2 shitty jobs that don't even make up an actual full part-time job. But no, it's like I find stuff
Nick
and I'm
is
like,
living the dream.
yeah, look at the dream of terrible.
Wow.
But no, it's like I literally just run around all the pawn shops and I look at all the games and I'm like, I don't know that game. I don't
Right.
remember that game. I'll write it down and maybe I'll look it up. And then most of the time I forget.
And if it's like if they're asking like $40, $50,
yeah, especially them. But if it's something like we all played when we were young, like I remember renting Secret of Evermore constantly. I'm still looking for a working cartridge of that.
We had to toss the one we had because it was
look,
terrible.
Look, I'm sorry, but the copy I had come from the video store that my stepmom was working at, where when they were like, Super Nintendo's done, get rid of this shit, she said, I'll take it. And I said, games!
I know what was wrong with it. The memory on it was fried.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's just like Final Fantasy III for the Super Nintendo, which is actually 6, of course.
Yeah.
But if you're playing it, there's one enemy in the game where if you sketch it and it uses a certain attack, it will actually delete the memory off the game.
Oh,
nice.
Oh, that's right. It completely wipes the entire cart.
Yeah, it wipes the cart, not delete your game. It corrupts the entire cart itself, and your game is done. It'd never work again.
Which explains the reason why I could put it in, turn it on, it'll go to the load or show up the title, and
but it won't go any further. Somehow that's what happened to it.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was a wipe of the cartridge.
That's crazy.
Except for the title, which is weird. But yeah.
So,
where were we at?
Is there anything? Well, no, we were talking about graphics, and it got us on it because really,
it's not
as
good.
It stands
we might as well
here,
just keep going.
It looks awful.
It really does. I mean, some of the fire effects and stuff, yeah, they were all right.
I realized
wasn't nothing to write home to.
There are games that you could talk about. You could say that.
I will say the summons looked kind of good from their wonderful still art, but they still looked kind of cool. Other than that.
And I'll give you that. And that's not to say that this game could not be enjoyable. It's just that as it stands right now, because every game has had a remake, like, it's either every game has had a remake or just looks superior to it, this game looks awful. It just looks awful. You need a lot of imagination to place together what's going on.
When I get a new phone, though, hopefully I'll be able to download the Android version of 5 and play through it.
Just double checked it. And you better have $16.
I'll save up $16.
That's not a. It's not a tragedy.
$16 to play a remastered version of 5. I like 5.
I can't say that I wouldn't want to play it.
It gives me my job system back. That's one of the big things of Final Fantasy I've always loved is the job system.
Oh, I know. I'm just warning you ahead of time.
The only thing that gets me is, like I said, if I downloaded it for my phone tonight, I think that I would not want to play it because if I got my hands over here to hit buttons and my hands over here to move, then I got a little bit of screen in the middle where I can kind of see what they've done. And if I want to see it, I could put the phone down for a second and be like, that looks nice. But then I've got to pick it up and cover half the screen again so I can play it.
That's the way I felt too, because I didn't play the Android version of that, but I did download another MMORPG on the phone.
Yeah.
And I was just checking it out just to see what it was all about because it was free, and apparently there's like fucking 300,000 or more people that are playing this fucking game.
Right.
And I saw reviews of it from SourceFed on YouTube or whatever.
Okay.
They were talking about the game, and I was like, okay, I'll check it out.
You were like, sweet.
Yeah, I got on there.
But when they're showing it on there, they're showing it from screen capture.
Exactly. So I get on there and start playing
around
it, and I'm just like
the whole mobile issue.
No, it's like half the screen was gone. I was just like,
yeah, half the screen is gone.
There is a slightly awkward way you can get around it.
What?
But you have to have specific phone types. If your phone has a micro HDMI output,
well, yeah,
you can plug it into your TV and just use the phone as
I don't want to do that. That's not my goal. If I want to play a game on my phone, I want to play a game on my phone.
Okay, I have a Galaxy S3, so that's not an option for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for us that don't have that, we're kind of boned. But
I was about to say, because I have the S4.
In theory, it should work.
I have heard a rumor. I've never tried it, of course, because I have no purpose for it. But I've heard that you can take the Galaxy S3s, you could turn on their Blu-ray sync, and there's a specific you can go to the store like a Best Buy or something, which I don't. I've had my issues with Best Buy.
We've discussed this before. Move along.
But I can go to Best Buy, and if I don't
dick employee number 1.
If no one has to help me, I can go and get the PS3 or Xbox Blu-ray Bluetooth controller, that is specifically designed to work with the computer, and you could sync it.
Yeah.
So then you could play Final Fantasy V on an incredibly small television.
Pretty much.
Yep. On a TV that fits in your pocket.
It would be like
That way
if
you
I
could
had,
get in trouble at work.
That would just be weird carrying around a PlayStation 3 controller, though.
if I had it'd be like if I had
Put it in
my
your lunchbox.
DS or if
Try
I
to
had
set that in my pocket. What the hell's in your pocket? It's a PS3 controller.
It would look
Why?
a-
It goes with my phone.
it would be a lot like carrying around a DS, but I removed the top screen and set it over there and play with the controller over here.
Except you won't be able to read anything because it's too far away.
But that's what it
Yeah.
would be like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I still have to find a way to prop my phone up to play with this controller
And be able to
see
read
a
it.
tiny
yeah.
TV screen.
And be able to read it, and
That's
make sure
not-
that the screen doesn't slide and fall.
To me, it's too much hassle, and it's just for me. Other people out there might might have a lot better time with this, or they might not mind that issue. But for me, putting my fingerprints all over the phone constantly for like 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 hours, because it's a Final Fantasy. I don't
Yeah.
play it for 10 minutes.
Yeah,
you
they
can't
can,
anywhere
but
in Team
if-
Yeah,
At
you
once.
can, but yeah,
You can
like
get somewhere in
the
10
only
minutes.
time, the
You
only
can get
time
3
right now,
steps.
yeah. I
Because
was
you're
about to
getting into
say,
battles.
So
Yeah.
like that's my issue. That's why I say that it's Game Boy Advance, and I agree with you.
Yeah.
And sadly, that means that so far we've done graphics,
And it's not
it's at a
doing
low
good.
note. Next thing we do is play it.
Gameplay, it's actually pretty cool. It brought the job system back with a lot of different variants.
He didn't get to see that, so
I
to
didn't
give,
get to see the
Yeah.
job.
but to give you an idea, right now you are playing Bravely Default.
Yes.
That's kind of where they
That's
got
the
it
job
from.
system.
yeah,
That's where they got the job system from.
Okay.
You throw on a monk and you're like, I want my monk to be able to punch with fire. So
Yeah.
you throw on the Spellblade ability.
Uh-huh.
And then you go, I got a couple of, support ability slots. Let's go ahead and throw some shit in there. Kind of the same way.
Kinda.
Except
very
it's
close.
Not 100%.
It's more refined in Bravely Default, but that is essentially
what it is.
You
what
saw
it
how
Okay.
you saw how big of a spot you had between fight and item.
Uh-huh.
You can throw stuff in there. But the problem is, everything you throw on it takes up one of those slots. You
Okay.
dual wield takes up one of those slots.
Okay.
You two hand takes up
so
one
your
of those
screen
slots.
there is kind of like your ability slots, except it's
Yeah,
your actual.
It's your
Yeah.
action
Attacks and
slash
shit.
abilities.
Okay.
So
Okay, so I got the gist of it then.
But you can pretty much do exactly what you're doing in Bravely Default. If you have, like he said, if you have a monk, or if you have the knight, you can level up the sorcerer, is what they called him in that game.
Yep.
And you could use your magic to enchant your sword, so now you have lightning or fire sword on your knight.
That's pretty
drain
badass,
sword.
actually.
And for the
One
time,
of the most broken abilities setups you can get in the game is Spellblade, dual wield, rapid fire.
it's pretty sweet.
Dead.
Yeah, I'd say so.
4 hits times 2 because you got 2 weapons and it's magic. Oh, you're weak to this? Dead.
And the
Yeah.
battle
You
system,
hit
the battle
lightning.
system was quick and well responsive. You
Yep.
could see the time bar underneath.
Which was first apparent in the first apparent in this game, but the active battle system technically started in 4.
Yes.
You just couldn't see it.
But because the versions that we reviewed do have it,
Did the rest of the
this is
games
not
have
the
it?
first time that we're seeing it.
7, 8, 9, and 10 didn't have that bar, did they?
7 did.
bar?
yeah,
Didn't
7
have it-
did.
7 had the time bar
8
too?
did.
Yeah,
Did they? I couldn't remember.
9 did.
By the time you
10
got that
didn't.
far, you kind of stopped looking at it.
Right, I guess
Yeah.
that's what it was. It's like I just didn't pay attention to it because I
And then,
I
like,
played all
10,
of them.
10 doesn't have the
10 was
time.
weird, but we'll get to 10 when we get there. 10 had its own weird little turn system,
Okay.
but
I didn't play 10. That's the Spencer tried to get me to play that, and I started to on the
10
PlayStation 2.
10 you
And
had
I was
to
like,
get
I
past
couldn't get it.
Titus.
I couldn't get into it because it was lack of graphics. Like I'd already been playing the other stuff, and it was just way too. It just wasn't what I was into at that point.
Right.
You know what I mean?
In which now
And-
you're going to probably sit down and play it, seeing it's remastered.
I could, yeah, if I wanted to drop the money on it. Do I want to drop the money on it?
Not right
Yes.
now.
Not right now. I don't even have a PlayStation. I don't even have a PS. I don't have a PS Vita or a PSP either.
then
So
those.
technically,
I bought this PSP for $10 off my uncle.
The only time I can
Best
play that is if I
$10
borrowed it
I've
from
spent.
you
That's
guys.
crazy. Yeah, no shit.
He
Greatest
bought
$10
it for
ever.
$10, and he used it twice. And he's never got really any use out of it. The only downside is I can't re-download my digital version of Final Fantasy IV Complete Collection. Want to know why?
Why?
I have a 256 megabyte fucking mem
Yeah,
card.
that's
Ooh.
a situation. That's a situation.
I can't do
change that,
I can,
right?
Yeah, but
Yes.
the thing is,
Ouch.
you know how hard it is to find a decent sized Memstick Pro Duo or Pro Duo mem card? Really hard. Guess who's the only one who really makes them anymore? Sony. Guess how much? Guess how much those are?
When I was working at Walmart, dude, that was one of our main
That
sellers.
was back then.
If I was you,
that's then. Now,
if I was
Yeah.
you, I would
I'm just gonna go on Amazon. I found like a 32 gig.
I was gonna say
for
go
like
to your
$20.
Go to your go to your check like a GameStop directory thing where you can
Already
figure out
have.
where everything
I'm not buying
is.
it there.
Really, because like
wow.
GameStop still sells them. I think it was like a 8 gig was like $40 used.
that doesn't even make sense.
Oh,
I
you
just
want
got,
a 16 gig? $80.
I just got an 8 gig from Walmart for the Vita, and not just a card, but the one that specifically says Sony PlayStation, the ones that everybody was bitching that was overpriced.
Yep.
I got it for like $18.
Is that
at
remastered
Walmart.
on the PS4, by the way, as well?
Do what?
Is the remaster on
not
the
yet.
PS4, by the way?
No, it's on the PS3 and the Vita.
It
okay.
might, but probably won't. But don't worry, because there's going to be a wonderful little thing for the PS4 where you can play PS3 games.
But you have to download them directly from the PS Store, right?
No, it's
No.
going to be a streaming service. They're still
Yeah.
working out everything on how it's going to work.
So we had
and
to,
how much
so,
it's
so
supposed
we're going
to
to have
be-
to pay the $50, $60 for the fucking online service that's required with PS4
for a year.
For a year.
So it's
Yeah.
$10
And
cheaper
then-
than Xbox.
And then they're going to make us pay to stream our old school games as well from
Possibly.
But
But
It's
that's
either
your
that or
ability
they're
to
gonna
be able
do
to
like
play
a
I'll
those
say
games.
this.
thing
I'll
with
say
it.
this. I talked about it in a very early episode.
Yeah.
I believe that they should create a system like a lot like what you have with, say, Netflix.
oh, yeah.
But it should be like a GameFlix, and it should be very simple. There should be a whole set of games that you can stream for so much a month, and there should be a set point of memory that allows you to so-and-so, quote-unquote, rent off of them. So if it's a big-ass game, like a 2 or 3 gig game, you can download it.
And rent it for X amount of time.
Right, and then but you still have to be signed on to play it, but as long as it's downloaded, you would be able to just play it, and
Instead
it wouldn't
of
have to be
do the
streamed, so
streaming.
you wouldn't have the problem if you get kicked off or something. And I think that would be a really huge deal. Like they could easily charge small money. Like they could easily charge like a anywhere from $7, $10, $14 a month, and people would pay it because
At the same time, though, it'd probably be more than that because just GameFly by itself is 22 something starting out.
that's
and that's renting
GameFly,
it.
right? But
Yeah.
what I'm talking about is just
They
like
have to deal with physical copies, though.
Yeah.
just
This
like
is all digital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why Netflix is
Okay,
$9.99.
I want you to think about that though. Think about digital. Yes, it's digital, but at the same time, it's not like a movie. This is something that you have to interact with a controller.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
To put that on the system, but to put that in a streaming service is going to take a lot more data management and shit like that than it would be having physical copies.
But this is exactly
Yeah,
what I was
but you,
getting
you
at.
got to
is
stop
that-
to think though. They
That's why you
they
say
already
turn
do
it
this
into something
shit
like
now.
Netflix.
The only difference is instead of like streaming it, here's what you do: you go to Xbox, you go to the marketplace. Hey, look, Deus Ex is here. What's that? It's still $50 even though it's been out for what, a year now? Oh well, here's $50. Give me the new Deus Ex.
Okay.
Now it's on your system. You can play it. Oh no, I ran out of memory. Deus Ex, get the fuck out of here. I'll come back to you later.
Yeah.
But what I'm
That's tied
talking
to your
about,
account, though.
Yeah.
about is that
It's
if you
about
were
the
paying,
same.
you would pay a standard renter's fee every month to have the service. You could download 10 games, but that's it. Now, in order to download another game, you have to delete one. As long as you're paying to the service, you can download forever.
I just think
There's
it would be more
hundreds of
expensive
thousands
than
of
the
games.
12 or 13 that you're thinking.
Well, the reason
Because
I don't
it'd be
think it
more-
would be is because you would still have to be signed in and you would still have to pay monthly. And they would limit. You can't just go game to game to game to game to game. You would have to be like, I feel like playing Mega Mans. So you would download Mega Man 1 through, you would download 1 through 9, 10. Yeah, 1 through 10. So you just get the whole legacy. Bam, download 1 through 10, it's on there. But now, if I want to do something else, if I want to play one of the other games on that server, I'm going to have to delete one of those games to download the next one from the stream service. And because they're not dealing with any type of physical copy, and I'm not streaming on their site during play, I don't think that it would cost that much, and it would also be a more direct service for them to be able to do research, because right now they're talking about game research, and if they want to do something like that, they could easily be like, this is the entire Nintendo library. Bow. All of it. They could see, because it's their direct stream to you, they could see every single game that people are playing, and they could easily track down those forgotten gems that are out there that people love, that Nintendo isn't even paying attention to, like or Sony or whatever, games. And they could be like, holy shit. And then they could
everybody's talking about caveman games and rock and roll racing?
But just like Netflix, there could be services on there where the most downloaded, most popular games downloaded could be right there on a list of like 70-something games, so you could look at them right there, and you could find games that other people are like, this is my RPG nut. Right. And you could be like, I've never even heard of that, but I'm about to. Like one game you've probably never heard of that's probably one of the coolest games I played back on Super Nintendo, Illusions of Gaia.
I never really got into that.
Illusions of Gaia was sweet. But it's one of those games that, like you said, I never even heard of it.
Yeah.
It was an action-based RPG.
Kind of like Secret of Evermore and Secret of Mana.
Yeah. Once again, I've never even heard of those until just a little bit ago.
But it was like
someday
you were
we'll show you Secret of Evermore.
You were this kid.
Here's one that he probably has heard of that's like it. Chrono Trigger.
No, Chrono Trigger's way different.
But I've never played it.
But you know what I mean, though.
Chrono Trigger's way different.
I know it's way different.
This game is also different from the other games you guys have mentioned, too, because they still use a type of battle system. This is like, I'm here, I hit the button, I swipe. End of story. I don't wait for things to charge up, I swipe. I swipe, I move, I jump, I dodge, but there's a type of power-up system. So as I'm fighting...
Kind of like that?
No, because even Dragon Age is kind of turn-based.
Yeah. Well, no, Secret of Evermore's not turn-based. You can move around freely.
But it's still, after you hit, there's a little bar that, ding, like that kind of shows, like, if you just keep swinging, you'll always swing at the lowest base of power.
But you can still keep swinging.
This is not like that. This is...
Phantasy Star Online?
I played that.
No, I can't compare this to almost... Like, it's like... In PlayStation 2, you play Devil May Cry. This is a far cry from what we're talking about, but it's the same idea. You just fight and fight and fight and fight, and if there was a level-up system, that's what it would be.
Okay.
Makes sense.
There's no break in the way that you fight. You just fight.
That's cool.
But you're like this kid, and you go on this, like, giant global crazy journey, but as you find the stations of Gaia, you can tap into forgotten powers. Like the very first thing you ever do is you meet this Gaia and it talks to you, and you kind of start losing consciousness, and he kind of falls down to one knee, and then he closes his eyes and he starts to fall forward. This light takes him over, and then he stands up and he's this big giant long-haired warrior paladin looking guy. And all of a sudden, you're broke as shit compared to what you were with that little kid. And you go through and you do parts of the mission, but then there's parts that he can't do. You're going to need that little kid, so you got to go back to the Gaia station, and then it'll say that like Cedric loses consciousness, Will's personality takes over, or something like that, and you'll turn back into that little kid. And there's like him. There's like a weird pharaoh mummy thing. There's like this entity of power. There's one part where you like fight on the sun.
Wow.
You could become like this flare entity, like a living fire.
Oh shit!
And it takes you to the sun.
We need to hunt down this game because I want to see it.
It was awesome.
We're way off topic though.
You gotta love
but you know how we do that.
Yeah, I know, right?
If people don't know by now, Shame on them.
Right.
Yeah.
Shame on them.
There's a reason why we're all friends, and it's all because we have ADD at the exact same moment in time.
So I don't know how we ended up over there,
It's because we were talking about the
We were
active
talking
battle
about the
system.
streaming for the...
but we were talking about the active battle systems. And
what little bit I played, seemed fine to me. It was straightforward.
the battle system works very well.
It does.
I don't have an issue, I don't think, anywhere in the game in terms of the way the battle system works. Not one issue.
And it also actually shows you how haste and slow work and stop.
Right, because
Stop is douchey.
if you use that type
If
of
you
magic,
use haste, your bar turns a different color and it speeds up.
Yeah.
You're like, fuck yes.
I know what haste is. I know the games. I mean, that's
but
normal
back
shit.
back in the earlier games, I
never
remember
saw
there,
that.
there were people
Yeah.
that wouldn't even use it because, like, okay, in Final Fantasy IV, one of the major tactics is every single guy you come across, big guy, immediately slow him.
Yep.
That's step one to beating every bad guy in the game because it screws them. But you can never see it.
Yeah.
You couldn't see that it was doing anything. And if you even hasted your guy would blink red.
Yeah.
Unless you were really understanding the battle system and paying attention, like, you didn't realize that you were just like, oh, it's my turn, it's my turn, it's my turn, it's my turn. I mean, you kind of did,
But not enough.
but not to the way that in Final Fantasy V, for the first time ever, you used haste and you watched that bar be like, ka-tink, take a turn. Ka-tink, take a turn.
Nice.
That wasn't there before.
Move it, motherfucker! Kick, go!
Kick ass.
So it kind of added this, it added a feeling like a rush to everything that was going on, and everything was important. You couldn't
Until
just like
somebody hit you with slow and you went, oh my god.
you couldn't just like wander through the menus and shit.
No, you could. You could set it to a wait time so that way when you're in a menu,
To
all
play-
time freezes.
If you set it to wait, it plays more classic style.
Yeah.
But
So
if you...
that's also important though
Yeah.
because there are people out there that are more casual
like
gamers.
me, for the most part, I'll play on wait mode.
yeah.
Because there'll be times where I'm sitting there, I'm like, I don't fucking remember how I have my magic set up right now. Fuck. When I played Final Fantasy IV, I knew exactly where every spell was,
So you could go
and
to
I
it.
switched it.
Yeah.
It's like, as I gain new spells, I'm like, what's worthless to me? Get the fuck out. Give me my good spells.
Right, because
That's
if
what
that
I'm
shit's
using.
in your way
Yeah.
and you've got to sort through it, and the bad guy's
never-
going to just keep taking his turn.
I never
Yeah.
really changed up the spells in 5, and so I can never remember where the hell anything is.
Yeah.
That there's just sometimes where I'm like, I'm in a battle, and then someone would give me a phone call, so I have to reach or find my phone, but I'm in the middle of a
And the
boss
bad
fight.
guy's
still
I'm getting
taking his
I'm
turn.
getting my dick kicked in. I'm like, oh Jesus,
Hey,
my
hey,
balls! I'm
hey.
sorry, my wong.
There you go.
My wong's
right.
We got to
Discuss
carry over
this.
from episodes, damn it.
But anyways, it's like I'm sitting there just getting my shit kicked in. I'm like, Jesus Christ, Bill, quit calling me. I'm fighting a boss. He's like, you're just fighting the boss, guy. I can't. It's on active time.
Yeah.
So I
gotta
just
keep moving, damn it.
automatically- Most times I'll just switch it to wait. That way I'd be like, oh shit, somebody's calling. Bip! Pop into my spells real quick. All right. Yep.
Yep. That's
That or
actually...
if I needed to find an item. Fuck finding items in those games
Oh,
sometimes.
man.
Because every single equipment item that you have, all the worthless shit that you picked up, that's in your item list. Guess what? Start searching for that Phoenix down because you were dumb and you forgot to hit the sort button.
Yep.
Yep.
Wow. Wow.
And if
Yep.
that bad guy just keeps taking his turn while you've got 150 hit points and you absolutely must get the other guy up to even stand a chance of surviving the next 2 attacks.
You don't have time to dick around with the fucking 70,000 broadswords that you got off the squirrel.
What?
Well, especially if you're the type of guy that uses steel, those items just keep piling up.
Oh my god, too many fucking items. I'm just saying. But
Wow.
But yeah, there was a lot of jobs, including Pokemon Trainer, and that's what I'm gonna call him.
oh, the Beastmaster. That guy was cool.
You would beat down a bad guy,
You weaken them to
throw a
almost
ball,
dead.
catch him in a ball, and then
Yeah,
you
pretty
could release
much.
him on an enemy,
Yeah,
almost like a summon.
but
Wow.
you can only do it once,
Right.
and then that guy's gone.
He was like you
You
trapped one
basically
summon.
you sit there, you beat the damn thing until it's an inch of its life, so it's super psychotically feral, getting ready to bite your face off, and you go Pokeball, beep beep. yeah, I'm gonna save you for later. And then the boss comes up, and he's like, yeah, I'm a motherfucking badass. You're like, oh hell no, rabid squirrel, go!
Release thine fury!
Attack his nuts!
Wow.
Let's
That's
see.
crazy.
You get white and black mage.
And a red.
You get red mage back, which made me abso-fucking-lutely
You
happy.
get a knight. You have to make a paladin.
You get knight. You can make a dark knight, like they did, quote in quotes, like they did in like 11, by giving it like black magic, or you can go the opposite route and give it white magic, make it into a paladin.
But that's up to you. Or
But then you can
have
also
a battle
make
mage.
it into a paladin that knows full life and holy, or you can make it into a black or dark knight who knows fucking Meteo.
By the way,
Yeah.
fucking Victor and Bravely Default fucking dropping holy on your bitch ass, and you're just like, oh, I'll take it like the bitch I am. Yes, let me bend over for you. I was just like, fuck, and then I'm getting casted, Doom's getting casted on me, so I'm gonna die in 2 turns and getting holied at the same time.
I'm trying to remember what he's talking
Yeah,
about.
Victor
Victor
is the,
and
spirit master.
Victoria.
Victor and Victoria
is the arcanist.
right out,
The
right,
creepy little girl, like the super small
With the
little
red
girl
and white fucking
who goes all
braided
psychotic
hair,
and prompts
yeah.
the shit
Okay,
out of
I'm going to
you.
be honest with you. I was just lucky enough to have... I was already done with my town, so I already had the very best major attacks that I could do, and already had them leveled all the way up, and already had a level 3 attack with all 4 of my guys, so I walked into that fight and was like, oh shit! Do-do-do! 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 And I was immediately like, brave, 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 brave. So with every single guy, I was like, you take this, and then you take this magic, and then you take this, and then you take these summons, and you take this, and then you take these special hits, and then you take these, and you take these Hadokens, and it was done. It was done. I was just like, special move, Doken, special move, a magic, Doken thing, and then like, both of them were dead. Like I went 1 round with them.
See, I'm not even to the dead spot. I was just at the beginning, like when she all fucking collapses, and he's like, "Well, that's not a good thing," and runs away with her. Like just when she kills Olivia. That's the first time I come across.
Spoiler for that one.
Yeah.
That was an accidental spoiler, but oh
My
well.
bad.
But yeah, I did not have problems with that fight. So I didn't, like, he was talking about it, I was like, what's he talking about?
Yeah.
Me playing on a second playthrough with all of my shit.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You get to keep all your shit with the second playthrough?
You can, or you can tell it to be like, I don't want to keep none of my shit.
No, fuck that. Keep it all.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck that.
Keep
I
it
swear.
all.
All right, do you know
I just spent all that time? Fuck you.
No.
Mine.
Do you know how horribly bad I destroyed Holly and Barris? I just
probably
walked
pretty
up in there
damn.
and I was like, Tiz, use some magic. And he was like, dead. What's next? Seriously, I just walked in and was like, Tiz, use this black magic spell of darkness.
I'm gonna bring something up here. This game does not bode well. We're about to go into story.
And
We
we're already
have-
discussed like
we're-
12 other games.
Right. We
Yeah.
keep departing from this game. That's bad news.
Yeah, it is.
This
It's
game does
really
not
bad.
keep our attention enough to keep us talking about this game.
I do have to state something. They did one of the 2 classes, or there was 2 classes they added in, and one of them was Cannoneer. You got to mix ammo to make a special ammo to shoot. Woo.
Oh wait, allow me to do something
Necromancer.
for you. Allow me to do something for you. This is rare. Okay, this is only going to happen once. It's never going to happen again. You were right.
Oh my god!
I was here to witness
a fucking miracle! Okay, hell is now frozen over. We don't have an ice storm. Okay.
You were right. You bombed me on something about Final Fantasy V when we very first discussed this game that I was incorrect about. The coolest thing about Final Fantasy V is that you don't start with summons, you go get them. They're spread throughout the world.
Yep.
Yeah,
You
that's
have to
right, because I was
find-
trying to correct your ass.
You have to find and defeat them to get them. So you have to go find Ifrit.
So what you're saying, it's kind of like Bravely Default when you have to go find your summons, but you just have to
those you just go, please don't kill me, please don't kill me.
These were like big, epic, big guy battles, and they were hidden throughout the world.
If I remember right, Shiva's the first one you can find.
That's the same from 8 as well.
The first one I ever found was because he's random. The first one I ever found, you're walking along the woods, and Ruma just appears like, and just does a big lightning attack, and everybody's dead, and you're like, what the fuck just happened?
Some crazy old hermit man just dropped my face.
So 5 is when that started then, because I know... I know in 8 and 9...
You can go find...
In 6, you can,
In 6 as well?
You have to fight some of them to get their summons.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I know in 9, most of them were all part of your walkabout. You didn't have to go really find a lot of them.
Right, because that's kind of what she was out there doing anyway.
Exactly.
But, like, Shiva, she's in,
like
the first actual castle area that you can go into. You have to go into the waterfall, climb up a little bit, and you have to fight her and 2 ice guards.
Yep.
That's
so
cool.
if you don't
that's
have
pretty sweet.
fire,
that is
you're
sweet.
fucked.
Like Ifrit is real cool because you go to this library. And he's actually
a fire demon.
No, this is crazy.
Library?
No. He was causing all this trouble. So these old wizards were like, "Bon bon bougie bougie, bitch."
Yeah.
They trapped him in a book and they sealed that motherfucker away. They were like, "Get the fuck out of here with that guy." Well, when you come up to him, there's 2 indicators of like craziness how to fight him because all the books that you're going through, they're paper. So, as books attack you, like it is really cool. Like the battle area that you're in, you'll come across these giant tomes.
Every single time you go into a fight, you're on the tome.
Yeah, you're like on a giant book, and these things are coming off the pages.
It's like a pop-out book.
Okay. Yeah.
You fight pop-out pages,
but
those things are scary
if you're thinking about it, you burn the pages. Bam, 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 and you're throwing fire everywhere. Well, all of a sudden, you'll come across a book. And if you don't use scan and you don't think about it, he doesn't have fire going everywhere. He just comes out of the book, and he's kind of like this, and you can't see his face. One arm is over his face. He's got the horn hanging out. One of his legs is up. The other leg is down.
Yeah,
and he's got his hand, and he's kind of like jumping out of this book, and you'd be like, some fire! And he's like, thank you. Then he throws that shit back at you with like wall of flame, and you're like, "Oh, dicks!"
I need healing.
It's actually funny because if you do get Ifrit before you defeat the boss of the area, the boss goes ape shit because you have Ifrit.
Yeah,
and Ifrit's like, "I'm gonna purify you now."
But you can miss him. You can miss him, can't you? Yeah, so you can end up fighting the final big guy with normal fire magic.
Yeah.
But if you have Ifrit, he's fucking doomed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, he stands no chance at all.
It makes me want to play this game a lot.
Right.
It's too bad
There are some cool parts to it.
Yeah. Like, the jobs are great. Finding the summons is awesome. Oh, wait, no, that was 6. Okay. We'll get to that one. Because there's one cool thing with the summon thing, but it's in 6. So we can't talk about that one just yet, and it sucks. Actually,
it's
like
not
the
really
first 2 rules.
We can't talk about it.
I can't talk about that one just yet. Is there anything else for gameplay?
We might have covered it. The fact that you find the summons, it has a solid battle system, and the jobs classes were introduced with mixing properties.
No, another thing. You actually had to find the Bard songs.
Bard?
Yeah,
you have
songs.
You have to learn them from different things, and then one of them you actually have to find every single piano in the game.
As you play the piano, your guy gets better.
It's like it's like starting off. You're like,
that's some pretty sweet like mechanic shit right there, dude.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
By the end of it, by the final time you get done with the piano stuff, you're just like fucking jamming out, playing like some fucking Mozart type shit.
And the character always had this little jig. He'd be like, do 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 do. Then he'd stand up and be like.
He'd be like,
I'm getting better all the time.
Wow.
You've seen his little jig?
Yeah.
He'd go into the lake and drink some water and be like,
wow.
That's some good water.
Alright, so I guess we're on to story. Story-wise, it wasn't bad.
No clue on this one.
But there's one big thing that pisses me off.
I feel like the story is lame.
It's not exceedingly lame, like Final Fantasy 1, but that's not really fair to 1.
I get you though.
But
go ahead.
One
There was
thing
an
that pisses
actual
me off,
story in place that didn't take much imagination.
I do not appreciate fighting a goddamn splinter in a tree.
That's what the main bad guy...
The evil Grand Sorcerer X-Death. His soul is trapped in a tree.
Wow. Seriously?
Yep.
He survives in a splinter.
Wow.
There's a
And then
part
he
in the
becomes
game,
a giant tree
There's
again.
a part in the game where you beat him, it looks like the game is over, and one of your characters literally is walking around and finally goes, oh, this splinter is killing me.
And then the splinter rips out of her hand and turns into X-Death. And he's like, sup, bitches, I'm back. Bro, I'm dead Galif. And you go,
Now.
no! Crazy old man, no!
Not necessarily a storyline part, but I must bring this up. At some point, you will go to the other world.
Actually, that is storyline, and it's pretty sweet.
Right, but what I'm getting at is this. When Galif becomes dead, and you get his granddaughter, something will happen in the course of your game that will change your life forever.
My game life or my life in real life?
Your full life.
Real life.
Yeah.
Okay.
Allow me
Everything
to
you know
explain
about
something to
everything
you.
will be broken.
Final Fantasy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, every character in history has looked at the enemies. They look this way. You see one eye, correct? Think about it.
Not her.
Krill
She
looks directly
at
into your soul.
She stares through the screen
The
at
shit
you
that's going
saying,
on the screen,
she's all
she
like,
doesn't see
my
it."
grandpa is dead. Feel sorry for me or I will eat your fucking soul.
dude, it's really weird. Every single sprite in the history of Final Fantasy has looked this way. She doesn't even look, and everybody's all battle ready. She looks like this.
She just like standing full front to you.
Staring through the screen into
Like
my
into
soul.
your soul.
It's creepy.
She just stares directly at you. Even when she's casting magic, other guys are like, no, no, no. And she's just like,
Oh shit, Bill. You know what we forgot to do
what?
with the graphics bit? The music.
Go ahead.
Alright. As some of you may know, because I think I've stated this ages past, Nobuo Uematsu is probably one of my heroes in life. He is probably my favorite composer. Because most of the stuff he's done with the Final Fantasy series. That and the Black Mages, he fucking kicks ass, come on. But the thing is, the game music was kinda but that was not his fault at the time because he was limited by what he had. It was the NES era. Not great. Started getting a little bit better in the Super Nintendo. Super Nintendo, we had 4, 5, and 6. 4 had some decent music in it. 5 has probably one of my absolute top 5 favorite songs from a video game in it. And that's Battle of the Big Bridge, a.k.a. Gilgamesh's theme. Because every single time you fight that motherfucker, Battle on the Big Bridge. And you just hear that badass rock music, and you're like, now I feel like I'm fighting some fuckers. Because you're like, it's part of the game, too. That's why it's called Battle of the Big Bridge. You're running through this big-ass bridge, trying to storm X-Death's castle. And you're fighting monsters constantly the entire way. You're like, Jesus Christ, how many fights do I gotta do on this fucking bridge? Just constantly running. And then Gilgamesh shows up. And you're like, oh, it's big boss time, huh? Let's do this. And he's like, you start fighting him, and you're like, oh man, this guy's going down like a bitch. He's gonna be dead soon. And then all of a sudden he says something that's really fucking weird. He's like, oh, stop, I'm sorry, don't want to fight anymore. Not! And you're like, what the fuck just happened? And he starts throwing up all these buffs and heals himself, and then he jumps. And you're like, the fuck just happened? And then one of your party members dies, because he goes, "Wha-dink!"
Wow.
And you're like, oh no! No, please! Whoop! Where'd he go? Does anyone see him?
And the whole time, Krill is looking into your soul.
It's creepy as shit, man. But no, it's like that became one of my pinnacle moments of loving Final Fantasy V was Gilgamesh. Because you fight him like 6 or 7 times throughout the course of the game.
Wow.
He keeps fucking coming back. And then it's pretty sad what happens to him at the very end. Because you're going through the interdimensional void to go fight X-Death, because he's a giant fucking tree. And he's like, oh, I'm a tree. I'm returning everything to the void. And you're like, I'm going to fucking end you with fire. I swear to God.
Everett, go here now!
Down! But you'll fight Gilgamesh. And he kind of doesn't want to fight you. He's forced to by X-Death. And he's mutated Gilgamesh into this freaking monstrosity. He's got like fucking 4 arms holding weapons left and right, and he's like,
Yeah.
I don't want to fight you, but I have to, elsewise I face oblivion. And even at one point, he actually tries to help you after you defeat him. But then he gets sent into oblivion.
Right.
Which, there's a couple theories going around. We think we know who Gilgamesh really is. There's a character in Final Fantasy V. Or not 5, character in Final Fantasy Dimensions that fits the bill perfectly.
Yep.
Okay.
It's the, I'm trying to think, I think his name is Vadi. Vadi. He's the, general, he does everything Gilgamesh does. For the most part. But he's way more broke.
Yep.
And some crazy shit happens to him.
He steals Dragoon from your ass.
There's also
He
a lot of
helps
fan
you.
fiction out there, or
Yep.
fan theories rather is what I'll call them, that says that he was not actually sent into oblivion, but X-Death accidentally
Send him to another dimension.
sent him to dimensions, split him. Like, he wasn't sent to oblivion, but his very essence was broken into pieces, because he's in Final Fantasy 1, 2, 4, he's in Final Fantasy 6, when all those extra dungeons that show up.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Because of all the remakes, he's been appearing in every Final Fantasy.
Yeah, he's kind of like he's a running gag.
Yep.
But it's a cool thing, because he's always one of my favorite bosses to fight. When I find him, I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. Because he always has some wisecracks to joke about.
So storyline down, I'd say that we haven't exactly covered major points of it, but basically let's give it a real quick thing. Here's basically what's going on. These meteors crash down, and I'm not going to try to give too much away. These meteors crash down to Earth. The crystals are dying again. Big surprise. The crystals break. You inherit their essence. You get the ability to save the world. Now, at some point, you'll figure out that this X-Death dude, he's not actually from our planet at all.
He's from
these
different
meteors
planet.
are not meteors, they're spaceships. So you can go to his world, fight him, and giant battles ensue. There's a lot of storyline. Krill looks into your soul, and the game ends. Now,
Bill has one big problem with this game, though.
Girls always looking into your
No.
soul.
He has 2 big problems.
Yeah, 2 big problems.
His other big problem is Bill's never beat this game.
Well,
No.
For
Have
one
not.
reason, and I feel bad for him, and I need to probably help him get past it at some point, someday, but Bill has this problem with a wonderful, ultimate monstrosity of a machine that was developed to be the ultimate weapon. But it's not called the ultimate weapon. Oh no. This is the Omega weapon. This is the weapon to end all weapons. Bill is like level 35. He just cruised through a bunch of this shit. Then he happens to come across Omega weapon. And he tried to get past it because it's one of those weird random like walking people. But if it comes into contact with you, you're dead. Die. Because you can't harm it. Bill's characters, I tried. I was even like, how much gil do you have? And he was like, I got a shit ton. I was like, good. Who's got gil toss? I was like, whoop whoop. 0 damage. I was like, you have got to be shitting me. Bromp! He did wave laser. Dead. Bill's team dies in 1 hit.
Wow.
Well, the reason I rushed
broke.
us is because we are already sitting at an hour and 4 minutes
On a
for
not
Final
good
Fantasy
game.
V. And no, it's not that I'm not saying it's not a good game. I'm just saying that
Well, and not a good...
we haven't exactly been
remake.
focusing on 5 is why we have this
Yeah.
much time. So let's score this bitch.
Oh yeah, I needed my calculator.
However,
so
there
I
is
could
one
basically-
side note you guys are forgetting.
What's that?
What?
Main character's name.
Oh yeah, I don't care who you are. what your wonderful translations tell you, I'm going to say it right now. Fuck you. His name is Butts. Butts of Licks. That is his goddamn name.
That's the town he comes from.
Yes,
Yep.
he is Butts from the town of Licks.
B-U-T-Z.
They were not. Whoever translated that for the Super Nintendo stuff and stuff past until they finally fixed it in Dissidia. Thank you for that laugh. I still cherish it to this day. It was good times.
Let us.
It was good.
I'm just gonna say I'm gonna give it a 3. It was a pretty average game. There's some cool mechanics, but it wasn't anything that really hadn't already been done to an extent.
I myself will actually give this game a 3.5 because though I think it is basic, there are some things that stand out to me, like hunting down the summons and things like that.
Which kind of become a staple later on anyway.
The job system in general was well done in this time. It was well done.
Yeah, because it didn't matter if you didn't have a black mage. You just didn't have magic.
So
you might have that spell or the sorcerer guide to be like dead.
What about you two?
Haven't played it.
You haven't actually played it?
I've sat and watched you guys play it, but
Well, can we give a score off of what we've heard from you guys?
Yeah.
yeah.
Go for
Yeah,
it.
Okay.
as long as
You
it's
can do
well
it.
Here's
justified.
what I'll say. Here's what I'll say. From what I've heard from you guys, it's got some interesting points. I played just the very beginning of it, and it's standard battle system. You know, as
Yep.
far as the beginning.
Right.
I never got to the
Well,
job
the battle system
but
doesn't
you
change.
Yeah, but you described it to me
Yeah.
in pretty good detail.
Pretty damn good.
I'll give it just above average. You said 3 was average, right?
Yep.
Yep.
I'll give it a 3.2, just to be a little fair, because it was a bit better than just average.
Okay.
no opinion.
All right.
Like I said, I hate it when I watch you guys play the games, and then I want to turn to play, and it's like, no, I'm busy. I'm bromping all the things, damn it.
yeah,
Motherfucker,
we were kind
now I
of
gotta
douchey
sit in the
about it.
goddamn
We did kind of get involved
motherfucker.
with murder.
Yeah.
So what are you at?
We have a 3.23 repeating. So 3.23.
All right. There's no reason to do a recap because we've already done with the start of the episode. So this has been Final Fantasy V. The next game is a doozy.
Oh man.